Sorry about that. Just move that there for a second. Try to straighten it out. There we go. Yeah, I guess you could say to kind of continue a bit of the celebration, or at least the looking back at the 15 to 20 years of the Yu-Gi-Oh franchise, depending on how you look at it. I thought I'd do a bit of a movie review. Um, in fact, I just watched it for the first time in quite some time. And I watched it, of course, on the HD TV, and it looks spectacular in 1080p. It's not a Blu-ray, but of course, when you have HDMI cable connecting your Blu-ray player to your HD TV, it kind of helps it out. You know what I mean? So anyway, I mentioned this briefly in one of my videos where I talked about, 15 years of Yu-Gi-Oh and all that, 15, 20 years. And I talked about seeing this movie in the theaters when it came out, the weekend it came out, and of course I'm talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie, Pyramid of Light. You can see this is the DVD. And like I said, I remember going and seeing this in the theaters in 2004. So I remember going to see this in the theaters in 2004 at Southwind 12 in Lawrence, Kansas. Because at the time, like I've mentioned before, I lived basically in walking distance, riding bike distance of a lot of places. So I went down and saw it. And I liked it. I really did. Of course, I did end up getting a free card, which was the Blue Eyes Shining Dragon. I did get that, I believe. So I did get something out. I did get a card of it. I think we got a poster as well. I'm not really sure. It was like a mini poster. I can't remember. But I think that's all we got, though, was the card. And I remember watching the movie and just looking and seeing it on the big screen. It was just tremendous. And it was pretty full in the theaters. And believe it or not, it wasn't just, kids in there. It was, and, it wasn't just parents with the kids, but it was young adults my age at that time, which was 25. There were young college students in there, and I think, teenagers as well. And everybody enjoyed the movie. It was fun. It was a nice movie. If you look online, apparently it was number four at the box office that weekend, but kind of generally financially didn't do so well, and critically was panned by a lot of people. Um, I'm sure a lot of fans that watch the movie won't pan it because, like them, I thought the movie was good. I thought the movie had a decent arc in a sense. And you can kind of tell it was a bit of a continuation off the second season. You can kind of see that. It was basically taking place after season two, although it was not acknowledged or anything in season three, as far as I know. But you kind of tell it was like a big grand finale for season two. Kind of like it basically takes place between both seasons. Anyway, the movie again, like I said, I thought it was all right. I thought it was good. I thought it was pretty cool. Watching the series at the time, and kind of getting an idea, because this was also at a time where I was starting to hear about the differences between the original Japan version and the version we had. So I remember going into the theaters watching this, and I saw the cards that they were using, and I saw the score card as well, the electronic scoreboards as well. And when I saw the first of all the scoreboards that they would use for the duels, I was like, well, wait a minute. First thing that caught my eye was, wait a minute. Those are the exact same scoreboards that are used in the original Japan version. And then when I saw the cards, I'm thinking, holy smokes. Those are the exact same card designs that we use as fans and duelists, if we feel like it, if we feel like we want to be, collectors, duelists, whatever. You know, they're the same thing. The only difference is the Japanese logo, the Japanese wording is translated to English. So I thought that was pretty cool and pretty decent. um, of Warner Brothers, and at the time, I guess you could say 4Kids to do that. Um, but you can also tell with this movie that Shonen Jump and some of Japanese, the Japanese company that had made the movie, it was Nihon or something like that. It was Nihon. That's all I can spell. Nihon. I can't really pronounce it right. But they're the ones that produced it and made it for, along with TMS, uh, not TMS, but Toei Animation and all that. They're the ones that had made it for the Japanese, for the theatrical showings in Japan. So you could kind of tell that when 4Kids had commissioned it, because they were basically, according to reports, 4Kids had commissioned it to be brought here first, even though it was made and done in Japan, excuse me, already made in Japan. They had commissioned it to have it brought over and distributed by Warner Brothers, who they had a working relationship with at the time, because Yu-Gi-Oh was part of the kids WB block that they had on weekday afternoons, after school weekdays, and weekend Saturday mornings. They they had that partnership with them. So through that partnership, they got Warner Brothers to basically distribute the movie into theaters, as you can see right there. Which right now, if you think about it from a home video standpoint, is kind of a drawback, because Warner Brothers, in a sense, owns the rights to the movie, unless the movie's rights were sold to Nickelodeon and Viacom and actually to 4K Media. Unless that happened, then okay, fine, it's cool. But I don't think so, because if that had been the case, 4K Media, along with Cineditch and all the, and Flotation, I think Floton Films would have brought the movie out on Blu-ray at the same time they had brought out Bonds Beyond Time. But aside from that, they had gotten. You could definitely tell that the Japanese company behind the movie, had some influence, along with Shonen Jump, and along with some influence from Shonen Jump, to try to keep things true to the original Japanese version. But you can kind of sense in a way that there were some edits. I'm not saying there were, because it kind of looks straight. Because I looked at it and it looked pretty good, but according to reports, there was an additional 12 minutes added to it. There was, like I said, additional 12 minutes to the movie in the Japanese version. So I don't know what those 12 minutes could be. I don't know, if they have any importance to the film. They probably do, but maybe in a sense they might have been too dark in 4Kids' eyes. So I'm thinking that's the only thing that 4Kids probably said was, "Hey, we're not gonna put in those additional 12 minutes because we just wanted to run at that 90-minute length." So I don't really know about that. I will say though that despite that, it was actually probably um, the best version of Yu-Gi-Oh that 4Kids at the time. And again, you could tell, like I said, with the influence and suggestions by Nihon. I guess that's how you pronounce the Japanese name, the Japanese company name behind the film. Toei Animation and Shonen Jump. You kind of tell that along with their help and everything, kind of keep making sure 4Kids kind of keeps it mostly intact in a sense, and makes the edits, if there were any edits or cuts, you know, slightly smaller compared, if not very, very minimal compared to what we had in the series. It was probably one of the best presentations they had that 4Kids overall had of Yu-Gi-Oh. And like I said, you could kind of tell that there was that influence by the Japanese company behind the film, Shonen Jump, and I think even Warner Brothers had some say in it. Because I think one thing that might have gone around when the idea to bring this movie to theaters was being discussed here in the, for distribute for distributing here in the U.S. I think one of the things people kept telling those at 4Kids was, hey, this is going to be on the theater screens. Theater screens are not affected that much by the FCC or the parental guidances and stuff that television is. You can do a little bit more with a theatrical showing. So that's why you had a lot of the characters saying things that normally they would be altered or something. Like, you have Kaiba when he has his Dark Clown do a direct attack on Yugi, he says, attack with bloodlust slash. You wouldn't hear that in the television version. No, it would be more like do a direct attack with slash or something like that. And you wouldn't see even a silhouette in red of Yugi being stabbed, Yugi or the Pharaoh being stabbed right in the chest with that direct attack. You wouldn't see that. So there was that, and that was pretty good. Um, you can also tell that even at the end, you have Anubis saying it's not a time to duel, it's a time to die. You wouldn't hear him say that. So, so you could tell in a sense, like I said, the Japanese company Neo, Toei, and Shonen Jump, they had some say in what was going to be kept in and what would be cut down. And I think, like I said, a minimal was cut down. 12 minutes, actually, in a sense, is kind of minimal. Um, but again, we don't know what those additional 12 minutes were. But I guess that was kind of the price to pay to get a majority of the film distributed into theaters uncut, if not uncensored, in a way that at least you give the fans a taste of what Japan kind of gets all the time. And to me, I enjoyed it. I really did. I thought, like again, I thought the story was decent. I mean, yeah, it was basically centered around another Kaiba versus Yugi slash Pharaoh duel, but you actually had Kaiba kind of have a main reason. You kind of gave him a plot point, a reasoning as to why he would go to such desperate measures, allow himself to unknowingly, up till the end, be manipulated by Anubis into, using the Pyramid of Light to do in his duel against the Pharaoh, against Yugi. So, you had a reasoning for Kaiba, and that was pretty good. I really did like that. Overall, I know a lot of main professional critics have the mixed feelings about this film and feel as though it wasn't really that good, even though it's number three on the Japanese anime list here of the Japanese anime films released here in the U.S. It's number three on basically like a top 10 or top 100 or whatever, and that's saying something, even if it didn't do good in the eyes of some. But like I said, the story was decent. I like how all the characters involved from the first two seasons were brought in, a majority of them anyway, the main characters, and how they had to play a role. I did like that. So, and again, like I said, I know it sounds like a broken record, but the story was decent. It was a decent story. It was, wasn't anything, over pretentious or things like that. And I'll be right back.